Good morning, y'all. Xander Kai here. Today we're going to go over one of my favorite things in the game, and that is the Guild Expedition. This week we will be doing negotiations. Next week I will go over fighting, although I don't do a whole lot of fighting myself. So first things first, I think we all know how to get to the expedition by now. For those of you just starting out, you have to be in a guild, and that guild has to have more than 3 people in it. When you go into your expedition, you will be paired off with teams that are close to you in size. So this one has 11 members. I don't know if you just saw my little text message there, but this one has 11 members. Then we'll go around, go to kind of 15, and everywhere will kind of be between that 10 and 16 member range. And here, you'll see that they're from different worlds. Sovereign Rose is from K World. We have another S World, L World, S World, O World, T World, L World. The worlds don't really matter. Cool part about it is that you're actually interacting with other worlds. I believe that this is the only area I've seen where that happens so far. Alright, so Expedition itself, you'll see that you have a number of different, quote, islands. They call them conquests. After every conquest, you will receive one of these treasure chests. And one thing it took me a little while to realize is that you can click on the treasure chests ahead of you that you have not yet opened. So you can see what the percentage of each prize will be. This is very important when you get to doing some of these historical quests and other events. Because if you have to get troops or coins or whatever it might be, you can always plan your position on the guild expedition to coincide with that happening. So basically you go to this, go to your third island, and you just leave it there. You beat it, you don't open the treasure chest. When you hit that quest spot, all you do is click on the treasure chest, it opens, and you get your wonderful troops. So on to the guild expedition. You start off with 8 attempts. Let me just do this for my guildies real quick. We're going to unlock difficulties 2 and 3. I guess we're not unlocking 3 yet. Alright, we just had somebody move up in age. So you'll see that they'll have to donate 10 of each good. For every member that you have in the age, each level requires a different amount of goods. Pops must have just gone to the modern era. So we've got to have convenience food, ferroconcrete, flavorants, luxury materials, and packaging. You'll see that we're required to have 50 in the progressive era. That's because we have 5 players currently in the progressive era. In order to unlock level 3, everybody has had to have put in 10 goods, or you have to have them in your guild treasury. But back onto the quest. Here we go. First things first. On the first few of your expeditions, you will be able to simply put in one resource all the way across. The way I do this is I take whatever my highest resource is, and I'll put it in all 5 spots. And we'll hit pay and negotiate, and we're going to immediately know these last 3 are supplies. We can't even click on gold anymore because we have an incorrect with it. So it's just a nice, fast, easy thing. The first few levels will all be exactly like this. You just have to go through, you'll click, you'll see that you only have 2 options, you put in your greater option, and then you're left with only one thing to choose from. When we get a little bit further along, you're going to see that we now have 3 options. But because we have 3 turns left, as you see in the bottom left corner there, you automatically start with 3 turns, is we can do the same pattern. We just go from whatever item we have the most of, in this case gold. You see we only have 1.7 million supplies and 204 parchment. So we'll pay and negotiate. We only have 1 of them correct. So now we only have the 2 options available to choose from. And here, because we still have that 3rd attempt, I will select supplies in all the remaining spots. And now we know that we're going to have to put in parchment paper for the final 2, and we're going to move right on through. So when you have only 3 options to choose from, 2 options to choose from, or 1 option, or sorry, you'll never have one option, but you can go right through them and you will always get them correct. When you start getting more options, there is something very fun that you can do. And if you have a fully upgraded tavern, you'll end up piling up this tavern silver. So you get to have fun with these. You get to use an extra turn. So what this will do is it will give you a fourth turn rather than just the 3 that you start off with. You'll see you have 3 options. You have option 1, 15 minutes, option 2, 30 minutes, and option 3, 1 hour. The funny part about this is that you only get 8 attempts on your GE at one time. When you look here, we can see that we have another 57 minutes and 45 seconds until we get another attempt. And it doesn't take very long to go through each encounter. So there should be no way that you need more than those 15 minutes. Don't waste your time buying the 30-minute or the 1 hour. Just come back a little bit later on, wait till your attempts are refilled, and buy that extra turn. So the reason why we did that right now is that we have 4 options to choose from. So instead of having to actually pick and choose, we can still go through the same pattern I showed you earlier and just go from our highest item to our second highest. And then we see we have more whale oil than fertilizer. So we'll do the whale oil, and we got it right on the 3rd turn. Bottom left, you can see that we still had 1 left. So nice and easy, and we move on. 10 diamonds, woohoo, that's awesome. Next up, we're going to go through, and I'm just going to do these pretty quickly for y'all and see if we can move on a little bit further in the GE. One of the things that you can get as your prize, as just happened there, is attempts. Instead of waiting that extra hour for one, you get them instantly. Kind of nice to be able to do, and you get to move right along. You just have to be careful if you are saving steps in the guild expedition for later on in the week that you don't just fly through the whole thing immediately. Quickly, while we're here, is on your daily quests, sometimes you'll get these fun things like solve 5 encounters in the guild expedition by negotiating. Well, that's very easy to do, but if it says do 5 in a row and you're on level 3 of the guild expedition and you have 9 choices to choose from, getting 5 in a row or 3 in a row without ever messing up can be a little difficult because there is luck involved. So I try to run through this thing as fast as possible to decrease the chances I'm going to get one of those events later on in the week. And again, I am just simply going from the item that I have the most of to the second most to the third most, and then finally the one I have the least of. And as you can see, with the 4 turns, with the extra turn I bought, is I am guaranteed to get all the spots correct. And the reason why I go from 1 resource downwards is that I don't want to be wasting goods that I don't get a boost for on these expeditions. I don't have to trade for them as often as I can. So here we go. We got 5 choices here. So this is when you're not guaranteed to get the right solution. And instead of putting my highest resource second highest, I'll go ahead and put my 5 down. And if I had 6 options, I'd choose my 5 highest. So we'll hit pay and negotiate. And what we'll see now is we'll see these things called wrong person. And this means that that item is somewhere on the board, but not in the spot it's at. We only have 3 goods left. And again, we have those 3 turns. But I'm going to show you a slightly different way to do this, even though the best way right now would be, again, to do that greatest, second greatest, third greatest, fourth greatest, and then least. But the other thing we can do is we simply shift all of our options over 1. So we're going to know that they're going to move over, and we're going to see if they're in that next spot. And then because we have the greatest amount of supplies, we'll throw a supply down there, and we'll throw a parchment down there. Alright, and here we see that we have these parchment papers and they say correct. So that's great. Only thing is we're not positive that there's not another parchment paper somewhere on the map. So what we're going to do right here is we know that the supplies have to be on there somewhere, and there's only one spot that doesn't show a supply already being used. So we know that this first spot over here is the spot that we're going to put that supply at. Now we see that we have a parchment and a supply at the second spot, and we know that that has to be our rubber. So this third spot, we have two options left. We have either rubber or parchment paper, and it could be either one. I will go ahead and do parchment paper because I have more of it, and it happened to be right. So as you saw, we had two correct parchment papers. We had the other things saying wrong places, but you're never guaranteed that that parchment paper won't pop up again. All that wrong person means is that there's at least one of them on the map. It doesn't mean that there's more than that. All right. We'll click on this guy. 20 goods from the previous age. After you get your Temple of Relics, which is one of these great buildings you can build, it's a 6x6 spot, is that you get a chance to find these hidden relics on a level. You can see that I've got a 13.5% chance of spawning a hidden relic at all. And then we go down. If we get that hidden relic, it's going to be common 71.86% of the time, uncommon just a little over 25%, and our chances of getting a rare one are only 2.5%. When we move, if we make our Temple of Relics to the next level, it goes up to a 14% chance from that 13.5. Not a huge jump. We do get a 0.5 jump on the chance of a rare, but it's not a huge deal. Really, I think with the Temple of Relics is build it, and you can leave it at level 1, maybe go to level 2. I've got guild members that want them, so guild members will donate on them, and I occasionally will throw them up on our guild point swap, just in order to make sure that our guildies all have a Temple of Relics. And what that does is you see these wonderful little emblems that appear on the map, but they're outside of the conquest zone. Gray are going to be common, gold are going to be your uncommon, and this teal color will be rare. And they're different shapes as well. So when we click on them, you can see I got 20 forge points. And over here, we got a Gate of the Sun God. These things are absolutely worthless except for one thing. Your Gates of your Sun Gods and your Faces of Ancients, when you first get one, you're like, hey, this is really cool. What is it? It does crap. It's 440 happiness. And you can definitely find that by doing something else. But when you have quests, daily quests, or whatever it might be, where you need to gain happiness, you can easily throw this thing down, let it build up. It takes 5 seconds to build because it's not one of these things that you pay for with coins or silver, and it will give you that happiness. You immediately delete it and then rebuild it, and you will get credit for that happiness. You can do the same thing with population, with tribal squares. So that's what they come in handy for. So hold on to them in your inventory. When you have to gain happiness, put them down, let them build, or let it build, immediately delete it, and pop another one right in its place until you hit that happiness goal. Put back on the expedition. We only have 2 attempts left, and usually I would just fly through these and make sure I finished in the 15 minutes. But I'd rather talk to y'all today. And again, we'll have the 4 options so we know we're guaranteed, and we're just going from the greatest downwards. All right. Another 2 attempts. Again, 4 choices. We'll just go through and do it this way. You see that we didn't even have a single gold on there. Not a huge deal because we have so much of it. And if we had tried that with something like rubber, which I don't have as much of, or coke, which I don't have as much of, it would really hurt to lose a bunch of it. All right. So again, we're moving on through this expedition. You'll see that as we hit these milestone markers with these gold chests, it will open up the fog on the next area. Once we get to this very end spot right here, it will let us select level 2. We'll move on and be able to explore that map in the same manner. One other thing is that if you really need attempts, like say that you use that temple boost or your boost in your tavern, and you get to this last spot on the level, and you know that it starts off being very easy at the beginning again. It's worth buying an extra turn with the medals sometimes. So you can see it costs me 25 medals right now to buy one extra turn. And you can do that. I don't recommend it. You have 6 days to complete this thing. So there's no rush to just fly through it. I like to, but that's all personal preference, and don't burn through all your medals doing it. Because if you do, you can't use them for expansions, and in my opinion, that's the only thing that medals should be used for. And again, with those 5 choices, we were able to go through pretty quickly once we knew what was right and what was wrong. All right, here we've got 6, so we're going to do the 5 that we have the most of. We have the least fertilizer, so we're leaving that out. And now we know we've got gold in one of these places, we've got rubber in another one, and then we have the remainder of these guys. I'm still not going to put fertilizer down because we don't know if it's going to be on the board or not. I've got 2 turns left. I could put rubber back on right now. I'm choosing not to, just because if I find out where the gold is properly, then I'm going to know where the rubber is. So here we know we've got Coke. We only had the one option for the gold. That's why I put it there. You can see with the Coke, it only has one option left. So the Coke's going to go there as it said wrong person. And we still have that rubber we never used. And we know that that is then going to go in the first spot. So sometimes you have to look and say, what isn't there? And these different chests, you get better chests from the gold chests, and you get better chests as you progress through the levels. On this first level of difficulty, if you get troops, it's 1 troop per box. And the second level of difficulty, you get 2 troops per box. Third level, you will get 4 troops, and so on. Third level 3 troops. Fourth level, you get 4 troops. The fourth level is extremely fun, but it burns through all your resources. You're gonna have to bet medals at some points. It's pretty crazy. It's fun. Looks like Mordor. There's volcanoes everywhere. Refer to it as Dante's Inferno sometimes. It's not something that we choose to open every week because we do have a smaller guild without a ton of resources. When you try to unlock level 4, it's something like 40 resources per spot per person, so it does add up pretty quickly. Again here, you saw that we had these choices. We only have gold left and fertilizer left. They have to go in these 2 spots. And again, I apologize about all these notifications coming in. I should have turned my phone on to airplane mode, but we can't go back and refilm this. So I could buy more attempts. I'm not going to. It's not worth it for me. I can go ahead. Actually, I'll show this to you guys so that you know how to get through the very end and see what the second level is without me having to start a new video or edit this one down. Okay, that was pretty nice. Some people would say that's awful that we saw so many incorrects, but that limits us down to 2 goods. We can put parchment paper in every single one. And then we are only wasting 2 coke, which was the resource we had the least of. And last but not least, we'll go on and we'll complete this last one for y'all. So here we have 7 attempts. Again, we're going to put down the 5 items we have the most of. And once we see that it's in the wrong spot, all we'll do is rotate it over. So we now only have the 5 items, and we'll pop in those last 2 resources to see if they go anywhere on the map. Once an item is labeled as incorrect, you can see it's grayed out. So it's kind of nice that we don't have to sit there and make sure that we're not clicking on something that we already eliminated earlier. But you can see that I could still put whale oil in this spot, and that would be a mistake because we already know it doesn't go there. Instead, we will be able to put parchment paper in both of these, and we'll move on to level 2. It's kind of good that this happened is that we got a relic at the very end. You can see I can't move on to level 2 if there's a relic somewhere on the map. I'll have to go find it, another gate of the sun god. As you see, they just pop up like rabbits, and they are only good at getting you happiness. So now we're on level 2. If I click on the first one, you can see it goes back to being easier. And with this, we'll just go back and simply do our greatest, second greatest, least, and be able to get the way through. This level will get harder a lot quicker, and at the end of it, you will have to pay a lot more for resources. And sometimes it'll be 2 in a spot, 3 in a spot. And the third level expedition gets progressively harder. Anyways, hope this helped you all out. And if you have any questions, feel free to message me. Xander Kai out.